Hello, hello. Welcome, guys, back to another episode of Flip the Script with Vic. I'm your host, Victoria Nielsen. I'm really excited today. I think I say this at the beginning of every episode, but this time I'm bringing on my sister, Sophia Phillips, to chat about what it's like to be a woman in today's society. And I think it's really interesting. She's on the cusp of Generation Alpha and Generation X, whereas I'm a millennial. We have a 22-year age difference, but we're very similar in a lot of ways. And I thought it'd be really fun for us to just have a conversation today. So, hi, Sophia, welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited. So happy.
So, we grew up in different places, which we don't have to tell, people too many identifying things. But we also we're both born in May. We're both Tauruses. We're 3 days apart, which, by the way, I'm really glad because if you had been born on my birthday or before me, I would have been really salty. I can admit that. So we're 3 days and 22 years apart. But we're also both projectors in human design, which is fascinating because projectors aren't a huge part of the population. And I think I blew your mind when we were talking about it the other day, Sophia. But it's just so, I don't know, it's just so cool to have you here and to have a different perspective and a different generation. Because I know you're in the closet woo woo a little bit, and when we chat, you're way more intuitive than you think you are. So
Oh,
welcome to the podcast.
thank you for having me. So,
So if you were to I don't know, share a little bit about growing up as, I mean, you're a 14-year-old girl right now in America. You were, some of your defining years in elementary and middle school were happening during COVID, like when the whole world was locked down.
yeah.
What, what has your life been like?
Well, growing, because younger years, it was all normal, going to school, kind of similar, just normal processes. In third grade, that's when COVID hit and everything shut down. So our brother and we would spend all our time in the house, not going out, barely any sunlight. Like it was a stressful time, but we ended up making it fun. But it was always interesting to see that we didn't, we weren't able to fall, ugh, we weren't able to build those connections that you would build in middle school because we didn't go to middle school. It was all online, and that has definitely carried over because
I was
you,
wondering that because, like, do
yeah,
you guys have friends come to the house to like come play?
no, because I did when I was younger. I had like a good group of friends, but when COVID hit, everyone shut away. They were all like, "We don't want our kids to get sick." Because most of my friends had baby sisters at the time. It was very
Oh,
strange.
so like they were even
Everyone,
more like,
yeah,
oh, let's like be on
stay
lockdown.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I had a baby
Every-
during that time. I get it.
so everyone was like, "Please stay away." And so those 4 years really isolating, and uh, I would form these deep connections with people, and then it would be a situation where you wouldn't see them for 4 years. And so it was very hard on 8-year-old me to go back and be like, do they not like me anymore? Because I couldn't grasp that concept of COVID or
Like, why
the
aren't they
whole
talking to me? Like, why are we not friends anymore?
exactly. So that was a hard twist growing up.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I remember always talking to dad that I worried you weren't going to have the normal middle school experience, but you kind of almost did because
Mhm.
that's what, middle school girls go through. It's like, do they like me? Do they not like me? All of the cliques that as much as I hated it, I feel like it's formed part of who I am today, right? And I think it's an important rite of passage to be able to function in today's society. Do I think, we we come out unscathed from that? Like, absolutely not. But, it's interesting that that still occurred, even though you guys were like in isolation. And, our brother is 2 years older than Sophia. So, at the time you guys are what, third and fifth grade, like that's super young. And then to have to be stuck at home, not understand like what's happening,
Yeah.
and then have like mom take over teaching and like what a wild time.
I know. And it was really hard for both Ben and I because we both gained a lot of weight over this. So we both got really depressed. And I don't know if you remember how thin he got
Yeah, he
during
went, well,
middle school.
he like got super tall.
Yeah, got super tall, really skinny. And then when like a year or two before I went to middle school, went to eighth grade because I went for from third grade to seventh grade, homeschooled, and then eighth grade went back. And I was stick thin then because I was so stressed out and I was really worried about middle school. And Ben had a horrible experience.
Yeah.
He was like, everyone's so mean, they're terrible people. And I was like, I was so worried. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get bullied. Like, everything's gonna happen. And it was fine, by the way. It worked out perfectly fine for me. So it was just a weird transitional period from his freshman year to my eighth grade. It was such a different situation for both of us, which
Yeah.
is really interesting to me.
Well, yeah, because I feel like you're that 2 year age gap isn't that much, but
Yeah.
I also feel like there's a huge difference in like male and female. Because like to me, you're like I was at 14, like you're more mature, and I just think women we mature faster. We know this like scientifically, right? And I also think maybe that age for him of like that fifth grade to eighth grade, like that was a harder transition time to be home, to
Yeah.
not be around kids, to not be like on a sports team and be around other people. Like I remember, and sorry, Ben, this is not to pick on you. We love you. But like I remember his first wrestling meet, like when he went back to school and you guys were obviously COVID wasn't happening anymore. And like he did his weight set and then he was like, okay, it's time to go home. And dad was like, no, you stay for your team. Like you support the team that's there. And it wasn't his fault. He just didn't understand that concept because you guys had been isolated. Like what
Exactly.
team? Like, what are you talking about? You know?
And everything was about us. So our whole lives revolved around how we were doing. And so moving into eighth, ninth, 10th grade, it's really transitioned into the people around us, which is it's very different for us because 4 years was just about our safety and our family safety. And now it's more how people perceive us. And so that's an interesting
Mm.
shift in the mindset. And it had to happen real quick. So,
Did
yeah.
you? Because
Like it was,
I feel like that's what I help women unlearn is that like that light bulb that goes off that like,
yeah.
oh, people are perceiving me. How am I
Yeah.
being taken in? And do
Mhm.
I need to adjust my behavior because of that? That's what I'm helping women like undo at like 35 and 40. Is
Yeah.
there, very consciously noticing that shift, as I think that's different. A lot of kids, I don't think, get the conscious awareness that it's happening. Do you think that's helped you navigate it any differently, or you still think you have the same, anxieties and social things, being a girl in today's world, if that makes sense?
I think,
Stigmas. There you go. I'm like, what word am I
yeah.
looking for?
I think, yeah. I think that's definitely part of it, of that constant worrying about how does my classmates see me? How does my teacher see me? And what am I doing wrong? Because right now, do you not like cursing on your podcast?
Oh no, you could totally curse. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Have you heard me?
Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure.
You're adorable. I mean, whatever. I'm sure Dad and Vic are gonna listen, so if you don't want them to hear things, but
I don't care. Um, so, like right now in my life, I feel really bitchy about everything.
yeah,
And that's like something that I'm trying to, I don't want to unlearn that habit because I don't want to be too much of a people pleaser where I'm putting myself at risk.
yeah.
I'm trying to put up boundaries now because I struggled with that in the past. And so it's just a weird part of my life where I'm like, I don't want to be mean to someone, but I also want to put up these boundaries with them, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, and I think it's awesome that you're learning that now, and it's needed. Part of that, I love that we're having this conversation because when this airs, I will also be releasing the Dark Feminine Diaries, which is a 7 series podcast with my business partner from Monarch Mystery School, and we talk about that feminine rage and about that like grief and kind of alchemy of being a woman, and that at your age we were never taught that. that like that's a part of being a woman, and that actually when you can harness that energy, that bitchiness,
Yeah.
you can do it from a healed place. That most of
Yeah.
us, when we do it from an unhealed, wounded place, right? Like we're the bitchy, jaded crone because we have all this knowledge and no one's listening. We're the bitchy, jaded mother because we're a
Mhm.
martyr for our families, or we're the maiden who does things to excess because she doesn't understand that her rage doesn't have to be at 100. And
Yeah.
so I hope you know that like there's nothing wrong with you for that rage. Like that's fucking amazing actually. And that you will spend your life, I think, balancing the boundaries of holding yourself and of burning everything down. And I think it's part of our magic. So don't be afraid of it. Honestly, like don't be afraid of it. And that whenever it's burning out of control, like what other element do you need to bring in? So like if you're in raging fire bitch mode, like do you need some water to soothe you? You know, like do you need to maybe go take a bath? Like, you know,
Yeah.
do you need some earth to ground you? Do you need to go for a walk somewhere? Do you need some air to like clear the energy? You know, I don't know. Like what other element can you bring in to like balance yourself? Is part of what I'm learning and teaching, and it's been really cool. So to know that at 14, damn, that would save me a hell of a lot of time.
A lot of stress,
You
a bunch
know?
of tears.
Like, do you think the rest of your generation is this? I don't think the rest of your generation is this self-aware, or are they?
Oh, we are.
You are?
It's it's really strange because everyone's like, we're in a weird pocket of being available to social media and being on social media where we get so much information that you become so self-aware about what's going on in the world, what's going on with you, what's happening with your body. And it's just, it's a weird pocket, especially with preteen and teenage girls, of you know what's going on, but you don't have all the answers because there isn't too much information out there that isn't produced by a man or by male doctors. Yeah. And
Yes.
it's because I struggle with some health issues, and a lot of people will bring it back to a period. You're just having period cramps, or your hormones are just changing when it's really not just that. And
No,
so
no, we should
people,
never have pain in our periods.
exactly, like not that much pain
No,
because
no, no, no.
stuff's
I mean, you
going
feel a
on.
little cramping, a little something, but like if you're sacked out, like that's a problem.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just really interesting to me that we have this much information, but it's not all true. And
I was going
so,
to ask that, like, how do you discern, right? Like, what's
yeah.
true and actually true
Mhm.
versus like what's true for you? Because I think that's different. It's
Yeah.
very different. And it's scary now for me to even think about my kids, like, fact checking things on the internet or even like AI. Like, I was using AI for some astrology stuff, it was
Mhm.
wrong,
Mhm.
saying
100%.
wrong information. Like, and people aren't fact checking any of that.
They just believe it at face value. I always try to find multiple sources and don't go on WebMD trying to find like,
You
am I
give me
gonna
hope
have,
for the future, Sophia. Oh my God.
am
You're
I
like,
gonna have,
actually fact check and look at
yeah,
multiple things.
then go to like .orgs, not .coms, that because there's so much WebMD that I've gone down the rabbit hole and I'm thinking I have cancer, but it's like just a period cramp and I'm fine. And it's just so funny to me that we have so much available information and then it just gets jumbled with the wrong, just everything wrong. And it's really sad that it's more targeted towards the like women that don't have the strength to try and find the real information. They just want a quick answer to get an answer. And
Yeah,
so I
they
hope,
want a quick
yeah,
fix. Everyone
yeah,
wants a quick fix. And so
yeah,
they don't want to take the time to see, or they don't want to realize that they have to make a change. That a lot of, I have found a lot of
mhm,
period energetics
mhm,
has to do with, you know, yes, your sexuality, but it also has to do with like your feminine energy, and are you overgiving, and are
mhm,
you holding on to energy in your body, and how are you feeling, and do you need to move some energy out of your body? Is something stuck there that's like not really wanting to move, like I really believe our periods are tied to our energy, the energy we go through, the astrological energy. And the more disconnected we are from our bodies, the harder it is to, I think, move through some of that. But you're very, I mean, you're active. I feel like you're super intuitive and connected to your body, your cycle. And I feel like more of your energy now that we've kind of talked about some of like the energetic stuff. How do you, as we've mentioned like all this information, again, how do you parse some of that? But like you grew up, you've
Mhm.
always grown up with the
Yeah.
internet and with information. Like, what is that like? Because obviously, I grew up in a time where the internet was born. The internet wasn't even around my entire life. And I feel like I had a very different experience, not tied to a screen, not tied to, a computer. I did do certain things, like as a 12-year-old, totally went into chat rooms and like sexted and like did things that, sorry, mom, like probably never should. Actually, you know what? I was younger than that. I lied and said I was 12. I was like 10. So like I'm sure you have stuff like that too, but like, is that normal? Because you guys were always on the internet, you know what I mean?
I feel like definitely hearing you makes me feel better about the crazy shit that I did when I was a little younger. Because I was like, and it's a common occurrence with Gen Alpha and Gen Z that we have everything at our fingertips, and we, especially when you're younger, you go and try and find them because you're like, oh, this sounds like fun. It's really not. But, and everything's so new because it's like you have everything at your fingertips. And so you really want to utilize everything. And it's not necessary, in my opinion. You don't need to know everything,
No.
which
We
was
weren't
my,
born like we weren't meant to
yeah,
know everything.
exactly. And I feel like now that we have everything just right in front of us, just a tap, a click away, it's really hard on people's mental health as well because it feels, for me, you can easily feel hopeless because it's like, look at this person, look at what they're doing, and why can't I do that? But there's no, again, like with Instagram and TikTok and all that, you see people and they look better, they do better, they are better, and but you're just seeing that perfect portion of their life, not the whole picture. Because most people struggle with mental illness behind the closed doors, and it's really important to find that and understand that no one is perfect. No matter how much editing, no matter how much of that happens, no one is perfect. I feel like that's really important to keep in mind, and that I and my generation have had to really learn over when we're growing up because it's right there at all times.
Well, and then like with the rise of AI, I mean, I don't really like I don't use it much. Like I've started to use it a little bit more, but I've not been all in like I think some of my millennial counterparts have
Yeah,
been. Do you guys even use AI? Or are you very much like you've swayed the opposite way because you know how fake things can be on the internet?
I do use AI for some things, especially if, because I know for like, for me, I'll use it for test review. I'll put in a
Interesting.
study
Okay.
guide and it usually pops out some programs to help just review and little test guides and all that, which I love to use. And it's all the information that I've put in. So it's all
Mhm.
trustworthy. And I just like the format of it more than actually trying to search out information using ChatGPT or any OpenAI programs. So
Yeah.
that's how I really navigate it. I know some people just try and copy and paste, which is not the smartest move in the
No,
book.
I mean, it's all you hear in the news, right? That like kids
Yeah.
are using it for tests and papers and like all of that kind of stuff. And I think that's just a really interesting, I don't want to say problem, but a thing that you're gonna have to deal with in your lifetime that I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna have to deal with, but I think it's gonna become far more prevalent for you than, it is for
And
my generation.
already in the school systems, we use Google Docs, and the teacher can go in and watch a timeline of you typing to make sure that you are not copy and pasting any of the text, that you are actually typing. If it tells you at the bottom how many times you've pasted text into the document, tells you how many times they've gone off the document. I believe that's a feature as
Oh
well.
my God. But also poor teachers that they have to like look at all this shit to make sure
Yeah.
you're not cheating. Like
And it's crazy how many hoops teachers have to jump through just to make sure the students are actually learning and retaining information. And it's really sad, but it just happens. So
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess,
I'm you
life.
probably struggled with something like that too back in 20 years ago that
I'm sure there was something my teachers had to do. It made me think of that 20 years ago, I was, yeah, taking tests for people and getting paid for it. So
I
I
remember
can't say shit at all about like copying and pasting or taking other people's work because,
you
yeah,
were the work. You were the AI.
I was the work. Yeah, people were taking the work. Yeah, we did get in trouble for that, guys. Thankfully it was not too bad. I really thought I was gonna get expelled from college or like not get to go to college because it was my senior year of high school. Good times, good times. I also am really glad to not be like your age anymore. I I I enjoyed that time in my life, but I really like being an old lady now. Like I really enjoy it. You're an old soul like I am. Are you, I mean, loving being 14, or do you feel like I really feel like you're like a 45-year-old woman in a 14-year-old body, like in a nice way. I mean, not in a bad way at all.
I love it just because of the people that I'm around. The high school's smaller. I've joined multiple clubs, many sports. I'm very involved. I love the talking to new people, like learning their experiences because I have some friends that have some crazy situations going on. And it's really nice to hear their perspective. I don't know if that's a like female thing of our souls wanting to help someone, that caregiver inside of us, or if that's just personality trait that just taking care of people is one of my like strong suits. Love it.
And you are so good at it. Last time I was there, Sophia cooked like all my meals for me. But I've loved this conversation because you've really given me hope because I feel like sometimes we see in the news a lot, like, Gen Z doesn't want to work, like they don't want to do anything. And I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Gen Alpha. I think, my sons are both Gen Alpha, which is really funny that you are too, but they're obviously much newer in the Gen Alpha. So it'll be interesting to see, the beginning stages of it versus the end. If there was anything else that you, I don't know, wanted to share today about like being a woman in today's society or anything that's on your heart, what would it be?
Just more for your kids as well, just from like a woman to woman. They're gonna do great because they have you as a mom. They're gonna do fantastic. I don't doubt that they're gonna be like head of their class, gonna be changing the style of the classroom because their mom's gonna be strict. No AI, no cheating, none of that. No taking tests for other people. You're gonna be on them, and so they're gonna do amazing.
You were so sweet.
They are 100%.
Oh, well, and that goes for any other mamas listening. You guys are doing amazing. Truly, I mean, this next generation, we're doing the right things. I think we have to be doing the right things if you are talking so openly and so consciously about your mental health, about being a woman, about being nurturing and taking care of others. I don't think our only role, of course, as mothers is caregivers, but I think the more that we can lean into that, the more that we are going to help the world. We're going to heal the world. The world needs more love now, more than anything, more compassion and kindness. And Sophia, you are such a example of that. So thank you for being here with me. I love you. Keep listening to the podcast, guys. If you guys have been liking it, please like, rate, review, subscribe. I have so many fun interviews coming up with amazing women. We're just here having real, honest conversations from our heart. If you want to be on the podcast, shoot me a message. Be good to one another. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.